let's calculate the interest cost for a mortgage. And we're going to do so using Excel. So you know when you buy a house and you obtain a mortgage, you're going to pay a lot of interest. Depending on the length of your loan, the amount, all of that, interest is a thing. So the items needed to calculate interest in Excel. We're going to need the present value of the loan with the PV formula function there in Excel. The interest rate. Now this needs to be monthly because we make monthly house payments. And the number of periods. So that's the total number of payments you're going to make on this loan. Now, the Excel formula is a little confusing. So you have your cumulative interest payment, CUMIPMT, and then you have the monthly interest rate, the total number of periods, PV. The first three are pretty easy. It's the last three that I want to focus on. So the two values before the zero. If you have a 15-year loan, 12 times 15 is 180, right? 12 payments a year for 15 years. So you will have 180 payments. So you're going to have a 1 where the 1 is, and then where it says last payment period, it would be a 180. Okay? If it's a 30-year loan, 12 times 30, 12 months in a year, 30 years in the loan, you would have 360 payments. So it would be a 1, 360. Okay? The 0 at the end indicates that the mortgage is paid at the end of the month. If the payment is due at the beginning of the month, you would use a 1 there instead of a 0. The difference is in the amount of interest. If you paid at the beginning, you're going to pay a little bit less interest because you're having 30 days less of a balance. Not a whole lot, but it's going to change slightly. Okay, so let's do an example. So get this information written down here. You purchase a home with a mortgage of $260,000, an annual interest rate of 4.2%, and a period of 30 years. The mortgage is paid at the end of the month. How much interest will you pay over the length of the loan? Now, for this case, we are going to assume we make only the minimum payment and we never pay an additional payment because if you make an additional payment or you round up, all of that extra would go towards your principal, and that means your balance would decrease a little bit quicker and you would pay less interest over time. So for this example, we're only making the minimum payment. Okay, so let's go to Excel. All right, so in our Excel here, the present value of the house. You don't necessarily have to have these in Excel, but sometimes it's easier for me to see what I'm working with. Now you'll notice 260,000, I did not use a comma because if you use a comma in Excel functions, it notes it as the difference between terms in a formula. That's not what we want. So keep commas out of your numbers. The interest rate. Now they gave us an annual interest rate and we need a monthly interest rate because we make payments monthly. So Excel is a calculator. Let's type in what we need. I need equals 4.2% and I need to divide that by 12. Because to make an annual percentage monthly, I simply divide by the number of months. The payment periods. Well, I know there are 12 payments per year because there are 12 months in a year, and I'm going to multiply that by 30 years in the mortgage. So that means there are 360 payment periods. So now I'm ready to calculate my interest. So I'm going to use the cumulative interest payment function. And when I click in that parenthesis, you can see it gives me everything. Now, in an Excel function, if they have brackets around a value or around a word, that means it's optional. Notice there are no brackets in this formula, so we need everything. So first, I need the rate. Well, I have that in B2. I need the number of periods. Well, I have that in B3. I need the present value. Well, I have that in B1. So those are the easy pieces. Now, the start period. The start period is always 1. Well, it's not always 1. If you're in the middle of your mortgage, you would start at whatever period you're on. But I haven't started yet. So I have period 1. I'm going to make 360 payments. So this is what I was talking about earlier, that if you have a 30-year loan, it's going to be 360. And then because I'm making my payments at the end of the period, so you can see my options, end of the period, beginning of the period, I want to do end of the period, end my parenthesis, and enter. Now, look at this number, $197,720.07. That is how much interest I will pay over the course of a 30-year loan on a $260,000 house. So it's almost like you're buying an additional house. I mean, almost $200,000 is a lot. just in interest. So it's really, really interesting to see how much interest you're going to pay over the course of your loan. Now, there's a few different things you could do. If you wanted to say, well, what if I increase my monthly payment? You could do an amortization table, which would then kind of figure out, again, using Excel, how to change that and play with those things. A lot of different things you can do to make that number go down. But if you only make the minimum payment with this situation, that's where you're going to be. Thanks.